Well, alrighty, adventurers, here we are, day 10 of living off the bike. Technically, I guess sort of a rest day. I'm riding home today and back to the real world tomorrow. But the real story is we just spent 5 days and 1,500 kilometers on 3 KOVE 450s, just ripping through the northern Chilcotin on single track, double track, FSR, snowmobile trail, you name it, we gave it a go. We're talking 80% unpaved. Between John at Ragged Road and Lori with Outback Motor Tech, we just thrashed on these bikes, gave them all we could, and waited to see if we could break them. So, did we break them? Did we not? Let's find out. So let's talk luggage. Laurie and John both ran Moscow systems, all rackless. And of course, I work with Dakar, so I have the Mad Mules rackless harness running 15 liters on each side and the 25-liter Duffalo on top, all tightened down with Titan straps, which of course I'm also selling here in Canada. So I rather like them, somewhat biased. I find they work absolutely fantastic to keep everything strapped down, nice and tight. One of the best additions I did on this particular trip was to add one of the little pouches from Dakar, and that's where I keep my snacks. So rather than having to open the entire duffel or anything else, I can just open it up and grab what I need. And I was running the Bullfrog tank bag. I've had a love-hate relationship with tank bags. They tend to be too big and get in my way. But this particular little guy works absolutely fantastic. One of the best things is it actually sits at an angle. So as you slide forward and stand up and move into the pocket, it actually gets out of the way. Full roll top design with a pull-out waterproof seam tape liner, no zippers, and of course just the buckles on the side that can be easily replaced if you break them. All 3 bikes ran Motas. All 3 of us ran the Rousey on the front, which actually worked out great. That was a brand new tire 10 days ago. Still holding up pretty good. And then on the rear, Desert HT. Lori and I both had the HT on the rear, and John had the Rousey. And they all did pretty good, but again, that was a brand new tire 11 days ago. So we were giving it the beans. Running the Outback Motor Tech skid plate, which was extremely beefy and solid until Craig ran into a giant rock and put a wee bit of a dent in it and had to do a little bit of blacksmithing to get things back in place. I just need to replace the upper wing, which did its job, which was to protect that lower tank. If that rock I hit at speed had have hit bare tank, I shudder to think what it would have done to it. So this was by far the best outcome I could have hoped for. So one little replacement and away we go. Also been messing around with the tool bag that fits inside the Outback Motor Tech skid plate. So that's got all my tire changing tools. So all the metal bits. So 3 tire irons, bead buddies, all that stuff is down in there, nice and low. And don't have to put it into the bags anywhere, but it keeps the weight nice and low in the skid plate and doesn't mess with the balance of the bike. Also tucked away up in there is the Outback Motor Tech rad guards. So they're a metal replacement for the stock plastic ones. Stout, beefy, light, and they just look fantastic. Obviously there is quite a bit of washing of the bike to do. The rad and the oil cooler took a wee bit of mud. So power washing time it is. I have relocated the turn signals to be attached to the tower, so the full front fairing just comes off with quick releases and no cables to worry about. Pop it off, fix what you have to. I did manage to break off the right side turn signal. Still there and it still functions, but I can easily swap that out with the spares that I have at home after I replace the tails with aftermarket ones. And weirdly, it has hazard lights. So, if you're out there in your backcountry or in your rally, full speed, and you have a breakdown, you can put on your hazards just to let people know you got a problem. And in case you're wondering, license plates, zip ties for the win. If you crank bolts in there, all it does is rip through the metal. With the zip ties, all you do is keep it on loose and let it rattle. Let it be happy. A happy little plate, moving around and doesn't break anything. You know, make sure you use a number of zip ties. So if you break one, you replace one. But chances of breaking all four, it just hasn't happened. I've been doing this way for 6 years. No problems at all. The KOVE 450 rallies, as you may know, have an insane amount of fuel capacity. The entire bike is basically tank. We have rear tank, a right front tank, left front tank, and when they're all full, we're good for 31 liters and almost 550 kilometers. So we had an interesting time figuring out when the low fuel light comes on. Turns out it comes on with probably over 100 kilometers to go, with maybe 10 liters left in the front tanks. So it was disconcerting at first to see that come on in the middle of nowhere when you're a long way from fuel, and then realize you can just keep riding for an awful lot longer. The fuel gauge is a very well-known issue that not fantastically accurate, which is not surprising given that there's 3 tanks, rear, right, left. The 2 fronts go down together, the pump and the gauge is in the left front. So it can only do so much to keep track of what's in there. We did learn very quickly not to trust the fuel gauge. So every fuel stop, we all reset our tripometer and just worked from that. If all 3 tanks were full, we know we had at least 500 kilometers. So we planned accordingly. Laurie's KOVE was a little bit more hopped up. Very different tune. Probably gave it about 5 or 6 more horsepower, but also drank fuel a lot more. We found out very quickly that it probably had a 50 kilometer range less than the other 2 bikes. It still gives you 500 kilometers, so keep that in mind. And we just did the math and away we went. New right before the trip was the steering dampener. The KOVE 450 Rally comes pre-drilled in the upper triple and the frame for a steering dampener. This was definitely one of the best new items I added to the bike. Allowed me to charge into loose rocky terrain without having to worry about getting deflected off a loose rock. So that was absolutely fantastic. That is the push to talk button that I have for the Baofeng 10-watt radio system that we carried. And yes, you may have noticed something is missing. I have removed the ignition system delete, as you will. I love not having a key. It's absolutely fantastic. You don't have to worry about carrying a spare or losing either or both of them. It's also great because how many times have you got onto the bike, helmet's on, gloves are on, ready to go, and your key is still in your pocket somewhere? So no, it's not that easy to steal my bike. There's the main power switch, there's a secondary power switch, and guess what? Yeah, that's right. There's a third one that you will not find. I am running an aftermarket rally tower. Gives me lots of spots to mount things up high so I can see. I also run a 12 fuse power block off the battery, so that allows me to run extra power to various things like auxiliary lights that I'm adding soon, the USB port that I'm going to bypass and put a high amperage one straight off USB-C, and of course run the nav unit through Android Auto and Carplay. So basically it's a giant fancy 7-inch remote touchscreen for your phone. So I don't have a mount for my phone on the bars, which is unbelievably freeing actually. It stays on my pocket on a wireless charger, and this does all the heavy lifting. So you can see all your maps, control music if that's your thing, and basically just keep your phone to itself. So unfortunately, this particular unit that I got from AliExpress was a proof of concept. Got it unbelievably affordable. Thought it was fantastic. Worked great. Unfortunately, it did not last. On day 2, it basically turned into a shake weight. Something inside broke loose and no longer functioned at all. So it was great when it worked, and now it doesn't. So this unit is being completely just electronically recycled and being replaced by a new Capuride unit. I'm very excited to now be working with Capuride. It is a much more durable and reliable system. The fantastic thing that I'm most excited about is it actually runs in portrait mode. So instead of having a landscape mode screen with your here you are dot and arrow way down at the bottom and all the stuff on the left and the right that you simply don't need to see and not much above you, with the portrait mode, it actually has your dot at the bottom and an awful lot of viewable trail and road in front of you as it moves with you. Also super excited now that I'm working with Capuride. I do have a 30% off discount code that you can use to get your own unit. Check it out, go online, take a peek. If you have any questions, let me know. I've been doing my homework, I've got it all figured out. See the description below for your own 30% discount for Capuride. Also not sure if you can see that in there, but the aftermarket tower is a great spot to keep your spare tube. Has a USB port that has a cable that runs into a cable port on the tank bag, and that keeps all the battery banks charged from 0 up to 100 during the day, so I can charge all the devices like the drone, the camera, and all the other goodies at camp at night and ready to go for the next day. Cherubi's handguards were fantastic, solid, rigid, didn't move anywhere, but that was partly because the bars are actually threaded. So there's none of those silly inserts that can move around. So this is actually a heated bar from C3 Power Sports out of Salmon Arm here in BC. And they are designed for snow bikes. So it's not plumbed in right now, although I really wish it was with all the cold weather and rain. Snow bike bars are the hottest bars you can possibly imagine with all the coolant running through them. So they're actually sealed on the inside. And it's part of the coolant chamber. It also gives you more coolant capacity, which is kind of neat. So if you're on blue ice and the heated bar, you actually have a lot of extra capacity. All three of us were running Rally mirrors. So nice, small, compact, and out of the line of all the alders and trees and other things that we can easily hit. I did manage to shatter one, but of course these things are about $6 to replace. So not a big deal. Actually, I have spares at home. I bought lots of extras, but it's nice because you can actually angle them on the fly with your thumb. And the way they work is they shoot under your arm instead of trying to look over your shoulders. So they may seem silly and small and useless, but I can actually see better because I don't have to worry about doing a head bob to look over my own shoulders. It was absolutely astounding how much wear on the drivetrain happened in 1,500 kilometers. We looked at the bikes yesterday. All came, chains are starting to get a little loose. We should keep an eye on those. And by the time I got back to Vernon, mine was unbelievably stretched and loose. By the time John got to the ferry back to the island, same thing. He had to adjust stuff just to get home. So, yeah, looks like we're in for a new drivetrain, but that's a wear item, and I'm okay with that. So, did the KOVEs survive? Yeah, not only survive, they thrived. So after 5 days of throwing everything we possibly could at the three of these bikes, we had no mechanical problems at all with the KOVEs themselves. Everything else was stuff around just backcountry motor travel. And we dealt with it as it all came. So all in all, the bikes did unbelievably fantastic. I can't believe what we did and how fast we did it with zero problems. Yes, we had issues we had to fix. We got two flats. We had my impact with the rock and having to deal with some blacksmithing trailside to get things back together. A few other problems here and there, loose bolts, but I carry spare bolts, I carry Loctite. We got everything fastened down and away we went. All the problems that we had nothing to do with the KOVE bike itself. It ran like a champ. So what do we think of the KOVE 450 Rally? You know, the Dakar ready race bike for the desert in the backcountry of BC. Wow, I can't imagine riding anything different now. Between the fuel range, the stability, the power, the just unbelievable predictability with that much weight and fuel and range and luggage and you may understand right now that, yeah, I'm a fan. And John and Lori, the same. We had an amazing time and the bikes were just unstoppable. So if you think you might want one for yourself, go check out your local dealer, talk to KOVE Canada, they'll tell you where to go. Take it for a test ride, they're all over the place. Just try one. Yes, I know they're made in China. If you've got a problem with that, you know, you're watching this on a Chinese-made phone or a Chinese-made TV, but the reality is nobody else is making a bike like this. Not a single other manufacturer has built what we've been asking for a while now, and nobody is within a couple years of even catching up and putting out something comparable. So I can tell you right now, go give it a try. You're going to be surprised. So everybody says, oh, what about long-term reliability? We put these things through the ringer. We had no issues at all. John's up to 10,000 on his. I've got 6.5 on mine. Lori's is a little bit less used, but all three of them were just perfect. There will be lots more reviews coming soon of all the various bits and pieces, the luggage setup, the Outback MotorTac racks and attachments, the rally tower, the nav system. So stay tuned. There's lots more to come. But in the meantime, wow, BC, incredible. We have so much here to go ride. Go get some.